Ladies and gentlemen, artists and creatives, welcome to Tribal Sounds. My name is Forrest, and today I'll be your guide in showing you how to create a music template inside of your audio workstation that will hopefully increase your creativity and the speed at which you can capture the moment. So without further ado, let's hop right on in. Today we'll be working inside of Universal Audio's Luna. It's the program I've been using most recently, so I wanted to show you inside of this because I like the way it sounds. So right now we're in our new track dialog. You would name your title, and then you would create your tempo, choose your storage location. I've already done all of that. So let's go ahead and hop into the skeleton channel that I have here, which is just a main bus. Now, most of the time in any of the workflows that I do what they call a top-down mix. So I'll branch from the main track or the master fader into subcategories. So that's what we're going to do right here. To do that, we're going to do our new track dialog, which for me is Command-Shift-N, and then I'm going to go ahead and cycle to buses. Now I've created my buses. We want there to be a whopping 17 of these. Sounds like a lot, but hang tight with me. We're going to go ahead and create these buses, and we're going to allow them to instantiate, or we're going to go through and name them. So starting from the top down again, so we're going to the main, then we're going to have a master vocal. Go to the next, we're going to do a master music, and then we're going to simply name the groupings of instrumentation after this. So we know we'll probably have drums in some of our tracks. We know we're going to have bass in some of our tracks. Add some synths as well. And we're going to do keys, guitars, vocals. We need vocals to make a good track, unless it's an instrumental, of course. Vocals, and then if we have vocals, we'll probably have backup vocals. And then we're going to do some ad-libs just in case anyone wants to give a woot-woot in the background. And we're going to have potentially FX, so any ambient noises that you might have, or any just random sound effects, a gong or something like that that you don't want to send to any of the other dedicated buses. You can use the FX slot for that. So once we've created those, that pretty well covers most instrumentation groupings that I would normally use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight 12 through 16, and I'm going to go ahead and change the color of these. I'm going to change them to an off color, very neutral, because they are going to be completely different. And with them, I will go ahead and name some effects that I generally use across multiple tracks. So we're going to have a reverb for a room. We're going to have a reverb plate to have a different sounding reverb. And then we're probably going to have some form of delay on a section of the song. So we'll do delay quarter note, and then we'll do a delay eighth note. They're my most common two. And then finally, we're just going to have a special bus, and this is always for fun, so I just name it Special Sauce. It can be anything, but it's just an effect that you might want to use to color your track. Now this final one, I've skipped it at the beginning, but I wanted to catch it here at the end. This final track is actually a sub-master, and I'll tell you all why I do that a little bit later on, but I am going to move this track up right below the main fader. Alright, so the next thing I like to do is I want to go ahead and just color coordinate everything. I'm going to change my main fader to red for stop, and then I'm going to use my sub-master yellow. And then I'm going to use my master music and my master vox as a lighter color of yellow. And it is simple as it looks. I use green light, yellow light, red light, and that's how I kind of follow the mix strategy and tracking strategy in my mind. So I think that is one of the easier ways to do it. So once we've done all of this, colored all of our tracks, we can go and color our individual buses as well. So if you have a special color that you like for drums make you think of, I don't know, pink, let it be, bass, blue. I'm just going to kind of go down the line here and create different things. But with these, I would recommend choosing a color that there are lighter colors of that are easy to identify, mainly because it's easier to navigate whenever you're going through. So I'm going to kind of just make these several different colors that are pretty close to each other, especially for the vocals, because they're all going to be very similar as far as whenever they're being sang or whenever they're played in the track. They're easy to find, so that makes me want to go up here. I should change my drums to a different color. We'll just do orange for drums. Now, really easily, and at first sight, I can kind of identify where everything's at. And if you use this very frequently, you'll soon find that it's just second nature. And as soon as you see a color, you'll know exactly what it goes to, and this won't even be a process anymore. All right, so we've already colored our tracks and we've created our buses. So the next important step is that we want to route our buses to the master fader, and we're going to go upriver here. So our vocals, our ad-libs through vocal, I'm going to hold shift and select that. They're all going to be going to the same destination, and that destination isn't the main fader. It's actually going to be our master vocals. And now we're going to do the same with our instrumentation, except we're going to send it to the master music. All of our effects I'm going to leave set to the main, but they could also be designated strictly to a destination. And you can always duplicate one of these tracks and then reassign one to the vocals and one to the music master, or a mixture of both. There's no rules here. So you can definitely assign any of these as you see fit. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. Now, our master vocals and our master music are currently set to go to the main, but I want them to go to the submaster. So I'm going to go ahead and select them, and I'm going to choose submaster. So really quickly, I'm going to just go through here. Our output is in this section of the screen to my left. We have our master music going submaster, master vox is in the right place. We've reassigned everything right to where we want it to go. Our vocals are going to the master vocals. We're just double checking things here. So once all of that is done, we have completed the first phase of this template. I'm probably going to do this in a couple different videos. That way I can show you how detailed you can get. But for the time being, this pretty well covers what I wanted to show you for assigning and thinking about how you're grouping your instrumentation. So once we've created all of our buses and we've color coordinated them, and we've routed them all to the correct destinations, now we can go in and create our individual tracks that we know we'll use on our interface. So what I like to do at this point is I'm just going to go ahead and hide all of the tracks that I'm not using. That way it's just the main. And I'm going to do my new track dialog again, which is Command-Shift-N. And we're going to create a couple sets here. We're going to do Command-Shift-N a second time and then a third time finally. Our first set are going to be mono tracks, and we're going to do 4 of them. We're going to do 4 mono microphones. Our second set is going to be a pair of stereo microphones. Stereo microphone. Let's just do mic. And then our final are going to be I say final. Let's do one more. We're going to create 2 different instrument tracks, one of them in stereo, one of them in mono. And we're just going to label them very simply stereo instrument and mono instrument. And I already have the privilege of having shape inside of the instantiation here. I'll be able to pull orchestral, brass, pianos, synths, or anything else. I recommend using some form of a sound design instrument. That way you can pretty well shape it to whatever you feel like playing at that moment. So once we have created our 4 mono microphone channels, our 2 stereo mics, our 1 stereo instrument, and our 1 mono instrument, we're just going to hit OK. There we go. All right, so now we have our mono mics, our stereo mics, and our stereo instrument and mono instrument already created. At this point, what I would like to do is go ahead and preemptively set these mics up to the correct input. So my microphone 1 is coming in fed by line 1. I know that that microphone is wired currently to a R121 for my guitar. And then the second one is a SM57. The third one is actually a flex spot, but I'm going to call this just flex mic for the time being because I could use any number of other microphones for that slot. And the microphone 4 is what I'm currently speaking into. That is my SM7B. I'm just going to go ahead and name the tracks. So once I've added the SM7B, I'm going to do these next 2 tracks, which are the stereo microphones. I have a Townsend Labs that I like to use, so I'm going to set this one up for 2 instances of that. If you don't know what a Townsend Lab sphere is, I'm going to link a video in the top of this. That way you can go and check out my review on the Townsend Lab sphere to see if it would be something that you'd like to add to your microphone locker. And then finally we have our stereo instrument and our mono instrument. So we got a pretty good start in place. This is how I like to organize my master templates. It has quite a bit of flexibility, and I'll show you different signal chains you can set up in some of these in the next video. But for the time being, I just wanted to put this into your mind. Like, you want to work from a top-down perspective. Most of the time, it's just easier to digest all of the different tracks that you might be recording and all of the different layers that you might introduce later on if you go ahead and get this organization out of the way initially and create a template. So now that I have already added all of the tracks that I'm planning on using, I'm going to go ahead and go up to File and Save as Template. Some audio workstations might not have it under File. There might be a keyboard command that is easier. I'm sure that there is. This is just the one that I like to use. And at this point, I've got it set up as YouTube tutorial 1.0, and then we can do 1.1 next video. What we did is we created bus routing to master fader, and we created microphone channels and instrument channels, and then we did those in mono and stereo. This is good habits to get into, notating your templates and notating your files in general. That way you kind of remember. If you need a quick jog to your memory, you can always reference back. Generally, I wouldn't recommend saving any audio if you do test any of your microphones, because it'll just make the file size larger and you'll always have to go back in and erase the audio whenever you start a new project. So Universal Audio was kind enough to give us the option to check mark or uncheck mark this box. I'm going to leave it uncheck marked, and then I'm going to hit save. YouTube tutorial 1.0 was successfully created. Now if we go back to our home screen here, you can start from template and YouTube tutorial 1.0, and now we would be able to just create directly from that template. That's where we'll leave this from now, but in the next video, I'm going to show you some of the signal chains that I like to set up preemptively. That way you can have an idea of some good starting points for your own mixes. If this was your first time to the channel, welcome to Tribal Sounds. Here I try to focus on all things creative with a high focus on music production, engineering, songwriting, playing the guitar, and honestly just anything and everything I can do to help you all propel yourselves forward. Please consider subscribing if you aren't already, and let me know what your favorite audio workstation is in the comments below. Until then, my name's Forrest. Thank you. Peace.